The madness is upon us. The field of 68 is set. Who will step up on the game's largest stage? Who will play Cinderella? Find out as our panel of experts will break it all down. Dash to the Desert starts now. Welcome to Dash to the Desert on YurView. Hey everybody, I'm Parise alongside NBA World Champion Scott Williams and former North Carolina Tar Heel. We'll get into that later. Well, the road to Glendale finally starts, Scott. We finally have a bracket, and probably not a controversial one this year as we've seen in years past, other than Syracuse being omitted, pretty much what we thought.
No, I think the selection committee got it correct. You know, all the teams are set now. The matchups are ready to be finalized, and the games are ready to be played. So let's get to it.
I'll tell you what, one team that was not controversial that we knew was going to be in there today is Dan Hurley's Rhode Island Rams out of the Atlantic 10. Got the automatic bid, won the championship. This was a bubble team just a few days ago. We go to our Atlantic 10 insider, Chris DiSano, who's in the ocean state of Rhode Island. Chris, this goes from a bubble team to, is this a club that could win some games in the field of 68?
Yeah, this is a very dangerous team. As we know, they beat Cincinnati on a neutral floor earlier this season, and they're coming together at the right time. They're finally healthy. After a February wake-up call, they have won 8 straight games, including the 3 that they just won in the tournament. In the Atlantic 10 tournament, they trailed for a grand total of 43 seconds the entire time in quarterfinal victories over St. Bonaventure, semis over Davidson, and then the championship over a very good VCU program, which, as we know, is also in this tournament. They're led by E.C. Matthews from the outside, who is a dynamic scorer, and Hassan Martin on the insider, who patrols the paint. About 14 points, 7 boards a game, and 2.67 blocks each contest, which led the Atlantic 10. Defensive Player of the Year. This is a tough, tested, and veteran team.
Now, they've got a tough matchup with Creighton, who averages 83 points per game. I mean, how are they going to slow that attack down? Do they have the veteran know-how to get that done?
That's a great question. And this Rhode Island team was the best defensive team in the Atlantic 10. They led the league in scoring defense, field goal percentage defense, three-point field goal percentage defense as well. They're a very physical team. They're going to come at you, and they're really going to try to disrupt your ignition switch on the perimeter. It's going to be a good one.
Thanks so much, Chris. We'll get back to you soon. We're going to head now to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Everything you need to know about the Midwest is our guy, Mark Ewing, and he's going to break it down for us. Mark, what do you think about these Creighton Blue Jays? Good showing in New York City during the Big East tournament. How do they match up against Rhode Island?
No, I think you're right. The Creighton program is on an uptick. They've been a bit of a vulnerable situation this year, but they did play for the Big East championship team against Villanova, who just happens to be the #1 overall seed. The story with Villanova is really simple. They were 18-1 at one point, and a guy by the name of Maurice Watson injured his knee, and now they're 25-9, so the math is pretty easy to do. Marcus Foster has lifted his game. He's averaging 18.3 points per ball game. But the guy I really like, the 7-foot center, his name is Justin Patton. He has 71 dunks on the year, and that has contributed to it. It was 69% field goal shooting. I also like Kyrie Thomas. He's the Big East Defensive Player of the Year. So at least on paper, this Creighton team looks pretty good, and they've got Greg McDermott. But it's time for the Blue Jays to make some noise in the NCAA tournament. Can they do it against a Rhode Island team that is playing its best basketball of the year?
Yeah, I like the big guys. I got to talk more about Patton, a 7-foot freshman. I mean, is he going to be able to patrol that middle and cut off the inside attack by Matthews and Martin?
Well, it is interesting that it is the year of the freshmen in the NCAA tournament. You're going to hear from a lot of freshmen this year. It's good to be naive when you're a freshman, but as you know, by the end of the year, your freshman year is over. You're a veteran, and Patton, who has played very well of late, could be a difference maker in this Rhode Island-Creighton matchup.
Mark, Bill Self's Kansas Jayhawks being a #1 seed, we've seen this before. Can Frank Mason and the Jayhawks, can this be the year to where they're truly battling for an NCAA championship?
Well, I can tell you they've given their fans heart attacks all season long. They have played so many close games, and they have won so many of them during the year. It is interesting to note that it is the 7th time in the 14 years under Bill Self that Kansas will go to the NCAA tournament as the number 1 seed. It hasn't always translated to a good NCAA finish or a Final Four, but maybe this year will be a little different. Kansas was upset in the first round of the Big 12 tournament. Josh Jackson did not play. Kansas this year has a little time to rest. Maybe they'll be more prepared, I can tell you. It's only a 220-mile drive to here in Tulsa, and since the town hosted the NCAA tournament last time around, which was 4 years ago, they've added 90 restaurants, so at least the Jayhawk fans will eat well. We'll find out.
I'll tell you, Mark, Scott now is changing his entire bracket around when he just heard about the 90 restaurants.
Big man likes to eat.
Thank you for that inside scoop. All right, we're off to a great start here, but we still have plenty left to get to. Check out some of our picks here in the Midwest, our predictions on our side of things. Dash to the Desert, YurView, right back at you. Welcome back to Dash to the Desert on YurView. Vin Parise alongside Scott Williams. And when you really break down the leagues, ACC, pretty much what we thought. A lot of respect this year to the Big Ten. How about the Big East? 70% of the conference got in.
That was a bit surprising, but they played some good, strong basketball in the Big East when the committee took a look at it and said they deserved the 7 teams. I'm really happy about the ACC getting the 9 teams in.
Of course.
Really happy for my man Danny Manning, too, over at Wake Forest. Have an opportunity to get into there with a play-in game.
Well, let's talk South bracket right now. And when you look at the South, and this is one that is interesting because obviously your UNC Tar Heels are many picks to go to the Final Four, but Kentucky, John Calipari's guys, and UCLA, I mean, this is probably the best offensive team in the country.
Yeah, when you talk about the blue bloods of college basketball, you got them right here. You could potentially have a North Carolina UCLA matchup, or a Kentucky UCLA matchup, or a North Carolina Kentucky matchup. So very exciting to be able to see who's going to be able to come out of the South region. And I really got a chance to walk through the kid Lonzo Ball. He can really flat out get it done. He can play fast. He can play slow. He can move that basketball with the pass. And he's got range on his outside jump shot.
Oh, one team in the South that a lot of fans are going to be keeping an eye on when they fill out their brackets is Greg Marshall's Wichita State Ball Club. Pretty much for past success, but for this year as a 10 seed, we go back to Mark Ewing in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mark, how would you compare this Wichita State team to some of Greg Marshall's past teams?
Well, this team's pretty good, and they told me during the offseason that despite the loss of Ron Baker and Fred VanVleet, a couple of guys who just hadn't been playing in the NBA this year, that they would be more athletic than they have ever been. I was suspicious of that, but that's true. The Shockers have won 30 games. They've lost 4. The problem that they are the 10 seed is that they didn't play very well at home against Oklahoma State. They played a couple of marquee teams. They just haven't played well, and they've lost. At the same time, they've won 15 in a row, folks. They haven't lost since January the 14th. The deal is that they have a couple of stars you probably have never heard of, including Connor Frankamp and a guy by the name of Landry Shamet. But a player that could be a difference maker in the NCAA tournament, I love O.J. McDuffie. He's 6'11", he's long. He is an outstanding player. You just never have heard of him. But Wichita State has a tough road to go. Dayton will be tough for them. And if they win, possibly against Kentucky, which would be a rematch of a game they played very well in a recent NCAA tournament. But again, a very tough road to go for Wichita State. And to no surprise, folks, they will play angry once again because they're not happy about being a 10 seed.
No, they're not happy about being a 10 seed at all. 82 points per game, but they got a tough game against Dayton Flyers, the number 7 seed. One of those teams that I've been kind of watching. What do you know about that matchup with Dayton, and how are they going to be able to stop that Dayton Flyers attack?
Well, remember a year ago, Wichita State played through the first 4, so they had to go to Dayton, and then they ended up going through Providence. So they are very happy, one, that they won their postseason tournament. They have a place that they will go, a little time to rest. And Greg Marshall's teams have done very well in the NCAA tournament. They are 9-5 in 5 appearances, so count on this. Even during those losses, they've generally played very well. I think the Shockers will be ready to go against Dayton.
It's Mark Ewing from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We'll get back to him soon. And how about the East? We got to move from the South to the East now. And you talk Jay Wright's Villanova Wildcats. We're going to keep it moving on. And this is a fun bracket when you really look at it, because you could easily have made the case for the Duke Blue Devils. I know you don't want to hear that, Scott.
I do not want to hear that.
That could have been on that one line. This is one that's going to be fun.
It really will be a good region for sure. I mean, I really like Villanova. This Josh Hart, senior, 6'6", averages 19 points a game. He shoots 40% from the field. Of course, Chris Jenkins last year, he broke my heart against my Tar Heels, knocking down that big shot. But you know, Duke is tough. This kid Tatum, he can flat out get it done. I think he single-handedly won the ACC championship. Whether when a rebound, dribble, power move down to the basket, when it goes coast to coast for the slam against Notre Dame. So it'll be a fun one to watch. You got some good teams in there. Florida, I think, is going to be fantastic. And don't sleep on Wisconsin.
That's right. That's right.
That's a team, I think.
And don't sleep on a team, sorry to cut you off, that played very, very well down the stretch, and that's Ed Cooley's Providence Friars out of the Big East. Had some key wins. We headed out now to Ocean State, Providence, Rhode Island. Our insider for the Big East, Adam Finkelstein. Adam, what do you think about this draw that Ed Cooley's Friars got? I mean, it's USC first, and then if you win, SMU.
Well, I tell you what, I think they have reason to be a little upset, but frankly, they're just happy to be there. This is a team that was picked 9th overall in the preseason in the Big East. They won 6 in a row to finish up the regular season, to finish with a tie for 3rd in the conference. And now they've been to the tournament 4 straight years, which is a new school record here at Providence.
All right, we had a chance to catch up with Ed Cooley and get his thoughts on what the Friars are thinking right now coming into this one. Let's hear from Coach Cooley.
We're really excited about it, happy to be playing in the tournament, like you said, for our 4th consecutive year. The players are excited. We're playing a familiar foe, of which we played last year, with an opportunity to play a great SMU team. But first things first, we're excited to be back there, and I think our players have earned it. A month ago we were 4-8 in the league, and everybody wrote us off. So it's a credit to the mental toughness of the group, and I couldn't be more excited to be headed to Dayton to play.
I'll tell you what, Ed Cooley's ball club, think about the job he did this year. They were preseason picked 9th in the Big East, and they go in as the 3 seed. And this is a team that could scare some people.
Well, he really gave his team confidence this year. I think they played probably above what their talent level actually was, but they played together. That's always nice to see.
Let's take a look at the South and the East. Some predictions on our end. We're moving right along. We have the West coming up right after this. Dash to the Desert on YurView. Take a look at our predictions so far. Welcome back to Dash to the Desert on YurView. I'm Parise, Scott Williams. We're in the home stretch here, and we're in a region that has the possibility of messing up everybody's bracket and causing a lot of unhappy people at the office, and that's the West region. Some terrific matchups when you really break it down, all the way from Gonzaga at number 1, Arizona number 2. But look at some of these matchups, the way Notre Dame played in the ACC tournament, just some really good, especially round of 32 ones, Scott.
They are very good brackets, for sure. I mean, Gonzaga, they got something to prove. I mean, Arizona has something to prove. They bounced in the first round last year. That Notre Dame-Princeton matchup, you talk about, Princeton always seems like they get somebody about every other year. And I love that Maryland, the 6-11 matchup there between Maryland and Xavier.
Yeah, a team that, as you talked about, pressure, and that a lot of people are going to have eyeballs on, is Sean Miller's Arizona Ball Club. One of the better teams in the nation this year, and we're going to go break it down and go back to Adam Finkelstein, who's one of our insiders. He's out of Providence, Rhode Island. Adam, Sean Miller, trying to get over this hump year in, year out, always has a ranked team, always has a Pac-12 power. What do you think about this ball club compared to some of his past teams?
Frankly, I think this could be the year that he gets to a Final Four. They are young, but they're long, athletic, and they're extremely versatile. They've got 6 different guys who score at least 9 points per game. They're great defensively, and so they can beat you in a number of different ways and in a number of different speeds.
Tell me about this 6'5" sophomore Alonzo Trier. He had to sit out 2/3 of the season this year. He averages 16 points a game.
Well, he's a flat-out bucket getter, and this is a guy that I've watched ever since he was in high school. And when he was in high school, he was a volume scorer who didn't have much interest in the defensive end of the floor. But when you're playing for Sean Miller, defense isn't an option, and so he's really evolved on that end of the floor, become a two-way player. But talked about their offensive balance and versatility, but with him back in the lineup, he provides somebody that's capable of going for 25+ on any given night. So like I said, they can beat you in a lot of different ways. He's capable of putting the team on his back if need be.
Thanks so much, Adam. And this,
Thank you.
Is this going to be the year that Sean Miller's Cats finally get down there? I tell you, look at this bracket, and it's fun all the way around. You mentioned Notre Dame, Princeton. How about West Virginia, Bucknell? Xavier is an 11 seed. They went through so much adversity this year, but started to get their feet underneath them. They beat Butler in the Big East tournament. And Northwestern Vanderbilt. This is two teams that had to fight and scrap and claw into the tournament, but they have the ability to make some noise.
Yeah, I really like Vanderbilt right there where they're at there against Northwestern. I mean, Northwestern, what a job Chris Collins has done. Their first ever appearance in the NCAA tournament. Tip my hat to Chris. I've watched him grow up, and he as a kid, Doug Collins' kid, a little ball boy running around Chicago. So happy for him. But that Vanderbilt team, it's something special about that team this year that I think could make some noise.
Well, and one 7-10 game that everyone's going to be keeping an eye on, St. Mary's VCU. And I like that matchup for the VCU Rams. But then in the second round, their matchup would be against Arizona. And this is a VCU team that, yes, they lost to Rhode Island in the Atlantic 10 championship game, but many feel is as good as anyone to make a run, make some noise. We go back to Providence, Rhode Island, where our Atlantic 10 insider, Chris DiSano, joins us again. Chris, talk to us about this VCU team. This is, we know about VCU's history in the NCAA tournament. What about the ball club this year?
Well, this team this year has 26 wins, finished second in the Atlantic 10 in the regular season, and they have real nice balance. They've got a couple of great guards in Jaquan Lewis, who's a first-team All-Atlantic 10 performer, and then Jonathan Williams, who's a great downhill driver from the point guard spot, good distributor. But really, Vin, and you just brought it up in terms of this team potentially playing Arizona, one of the things that Will Wade wanted to do, and he is one of the best young coaches in America, was increase the size and the length that this VCU team has. In past years, after those Final Four runs, they made a couple of early exits because they were flying around everywhere, havoc-wise, but they didn't have the size and length to deal inside. Now they've got guys like Mo Alley Cox, who is just a beast down low, Justin Tillman, who is a jumping jack and averages about 14 rebounds per game if you do it over a per-minute basis. And then they also have a guy in Hamdi Mohammed, who you can really toss it into in the low block. So they're hoping that the physicality that those guys bring, along with the toughness and length, will aid them when they have to go up against NCAA tournament caliber teams. They got St. Mary's, who's outstanding, only 4 losses all year long, 3 of them to Gonzaga, and then Arizona, but they feel like they can compete now, and they're not going to be physically overmatched.
Nobody knows the Atlantic 10 Conference better. Chris DiSano, thanks so much. I'll tell you,
Thank you, guys.
This could give Sean Miller's ball club all that they can handle. Think about how fun that matchup could be.
It's going to be a great matchup, but like he said, don't sleep on St. Mary's because they are a team that used to playing against stiff competition, those games against Gonzaga. Now, they lost all 3 of those matchups, but sometimes when you play against a great team, you elevate your level of play. Of course, this is a tournament. Everybody's going to be ready to play, but that VCU team and that Arizona matchup, I'll be watching that one.
Yeah, the West is going to be fun. All right, it's the home stretch. We're almost done here on the first edition of Dash to the Desert. Check out some more predictions. We'll be back right after this. The 2-minute warning here on Dash to the Desert. Then Parise, Scott Williams. All right, we've covered a lot. We've hit every region. I'm going to put you on the spot. I need your final 4 picks and I need one team that's going to go around farther than everyone thinks.
Well, always tough to do this time of the year to get you the Final Four. But, I like UCLA, the ball kid. I like Kentucky. Louisville is just so long. Duke with Allen, he's kind of a wild card there. But my Final Four, if you're going to hold my feet to the fire, I'm going with North Carolina,
Shocker.
Kansas, Arizona coming out of that region over Gonzaga, and I'm going with the experienced Villanova team.
Nice. Well, I agree with you on the Cats. I got Jay Wright's Villanova Ball Club as the number 1 seed. I have Rick Pitino's Louisville team, I think is going to come out of the Midwest. Arizona, Sean Miller finally breaks through, and I like North Carolina as my 4th Final Four team. Okay. Now, here's a team to keep an eye on, Butler. I know they're a 4 seed, but they swept Villanova. Not a lot of people talking about them right now because they got bounced early in the Big East tournament. They could bust some brackets and go far.
Well, I like that. And I like Oregon. I like the kid Dylan Brooks. I think he's a man out there. He plays inside, he plays outside. Don't remember, they had a share of that Pac-12 title this year.
All right, a lot of fun. Hey, if you want some more overtime, Scott loved overtime when he played. If you want the overtime edition, go to YurView.com. Scott and I will give you some extra bonus coverage.